Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us for our CEO chat. We are here with Jeff Perlman from OneSaas, and it is 7:30 a.m. in Australia, so let's have mercy on him this afternoon. Pamela, why don't you get started with your questions? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Christelle, for organizing this, and thank you, Jeff, for joining us on our early morning, where you are, late afternoon here on the East Coast, CEO chat. And as we've talked about before, the purpose of the CEO chat is to really, get a chance for me to talk to some other CEOs, in particular, CEOs of some other tech companies, some other SaaS companies, about what you're doing, sort of what's happening with your business, what challenges you've faced, what victories you've achieved, really just hear a little more of the behind the scenes of what's going on. So I guess the best way to start is just get a little information about who you are, what OneSaas is, and then we'll dive into some of the deeper stuff.
Great, thanks, Pamela. Good to see you this afternoon, this morning, whichever it is. So OneSaas, for those who haven't had a chance to look at our website or figure out who we are, we're a integrations platform, and we connect more than 60 different services in a hub and spoke where you can connect any service to any service, synchronize your data, automate your workflows. And so, for example, with something like Batchbook, you can have all of your contact details, your CRM details going across to email marketing programs. You can be capturing contacts from your e-commerce websites, from your accounting programs. So you can basically have all those contacts synchronized and flowing between the services without having to manually double entry or create duplicates.
Yeah, and I will just do a little plug, if you don't mind, for OneSaas.
Sure.
Having just sat through an almost 4-hour meeting ourselves talking about how to sync contact data across, we were just talking about 2 services. It is a very complex problem, and I think it's amazing the way you guys are doing that across so many data points. And it just, people, it's one of those things people want. If I have someone's phone number, just keep it updated. Just keep it updated on my phone and my invoicing software. Like, how hard can that be? It's really, 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 really hard. And so I think it's amazing that you guys are doing that, and you're connecting so many different services, and it just makes it so easy when it just works for small businesses. So
yeah, and it's surprising. We see people see that we integrate a lot of accounting and financial data as well as contact data, and they assume, oh, the accounting and financial data must be very complex and consume a lot of your time. Reality is that stuff is very straightforward. It is what it is. Contact data, 60 different services we connect now. Every service treats contacts differently in terms of how you map a contact to an organization, whether they're 2 separate records or part of the same record, whether they're just parent-child relation, all these different things, and we have an incredibly complex algorithm that we update regularly to try to accommodate an unbelievable number of scenarios of the different ways different services interpret the exact same data, and it is an incredibly complex problem.
It really is, and I can very much appreciate that. And you talk about the sort of person-to-company relationship, and then you take that, and it's going to be a completely different relationship with each piece of information attached to that. Every email is a company, is a person. Every phone number, every address, every then you finally figure all that out, and it's completely different in another country. They've got it all structured slightly different. So it's pretty exciting that what you're doing, and that you're really making what the other systems people are using work so much better together. That you're just sort of, it's like adding this nice layer of icing on top of a 20-layer cake to make it all sort of come together.
Well, the icing in between every layer as well.
Right, exactly. You're holding them all together and making them taste good. I don't know. I could keep going with this analogy, but
yeah, let's not. I'm getting hungry.
I'm just going to get hungry. So tell us a little bit more about how you started the company. Where did you get this idea? Were you struggling with integrating two systems and just said, there's got to be a
Sure.
better
So
way, or how did you start this?
Cornelio, who's our founder, was running in his spare time in between being a developer consultant, was running a couple of online stores selling chess sets and puzzles and games and things like that, and also a physical store in a suburb of Sydney called Castle Hill. And he was finding that most of his time was consumed with double data entry, moving the data between his 4 different e-commerce sites, his point of sale system, his accounting system. And so he went out to find a solution to automate the synchronization of that data and integrate that data, and found that there wasn't anything out there that really provided a good solution. It was an incredibly fragmented marketplace of lots of independent developers building lots of different approaches to the same problem, and none of them really working very well, nothing getting a very good review. And he came up with the idea to approach it differently, closed down all of his game shops and went full-time into developing the concept of OneSaas, and bootstrapping that with consulting work for a year and a half, 2 years. Then he got it to proof of concept and asked me to join him in the business and help commercialize it. And here we are a while later and going full steam ahead.
Yes. Excellent. So I know you've got offices in a number of different countries. How has it been to grow, and especially as a multinational company? What kind of challenges have you found with that?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of a stretch to call it offices in multiple countries. We have staff. One of our first developers that joined us after I joined is a friend of ours, Paulo, who's been with us for years in other projects, and he lives in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. But we love him. We can work with him well, and that's where we have an office, so to speak. There.
You went to the Olympics.
If he's still there, we're trying to line up some tickets. Yeah, definitely. We also have a testing lab in Bangalore, India, where a tester that we've worked with on previous projects here in Sydney has moved to Bangalore and started up a testing lab for us there. So we do all of our testing there. So we're able to work as a virtual team across multiple countries. We have clients that spread across North America, UK, Europe, and Australia, New Zealand, and we run a global operation from Sydney.
Very nice. So I know one of the things that we talked about before was we've both just been through a site redesign. We've been through a product redesign. Tell us a little bit about sort of why you guys decided to revamp the site, and how's that process been for you?
Sure. So our site previous to the current website was functional. It delivered the information people needed to get a basic understanding of what our service was, but it was built by a developer, not by a web designer or a UX user experience expert. And we really saw a need to communicate better and make it easier for people to understand our value offering, what we offered and how it worked. So we worked with a company in New York called Worry-Free Labs to do a user experience redesign of our web presence, and had the site built by a developer in the Ukraine. So we've kind of worked in a very multinational team to get it done. But it's the first step of an ongoing process. So we've made a huge step change to improving the way we present ourselves in the marketplace and the way we communicate. And we probably got 30, 40, 50% of the way there, and now it's a constant process of digging down into the detail and constantly optimizing it, getting feedback from our users, seeing how people use our site, and always making it better. And that's a process that will never end.
Yes.
In a good way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's great. I mean, I had user experience with your old site and user experience with your new site, and I think you can definitely tell it really has been designed for a much simpler explanation, and it's as we talked about how complex the problem you're solving is, communicating the complex problem and why it needs to be solved has got to be a real challenge.
It is. It's especially hard to explain things like contacts and why it's so difficult. And we have people coming to us, vendors like yourselves, who come to us sometimes and say, we've given up on trying to solve this problem ourselves because we have somebody who's a contact who moves to a different company. and all of a sudden everybody else who's a contact for that company, all of their addresses change to the new company's address, but they're all still at the other company. And things that seem intuitive create incredibly complex problems because of the way things are linked. And that's something that's very hard to explain, and we have to take it, in baby steps.
Yeah. So what was the hardest part of doing the redesign? Like, were there any problems, delays, setbacks?
There's always that fun, I call it a fun phase in the beginning when you're playing with different concepts and trying to figure out what the best way to approach it is. And at some point you just have to make a decision and say, this is the approach we're going to take for now, and we're going to make this work because we believe this is the best approach that we have come up with. And we had to reach that point. And we did have, a stall out for a couple of weeks while we debated over a couple different ways to approach things. And the thing that I think is really fun about it is we ended up with, if you look on our website, the wheel where you can select different categories of applications and drag applications into the wheel and kind of get a feel for how we connect multiple applications in a single file. That wheel has been a very, it's gotten very different reactions. The vast majority of our customers and prospects that come to our site absolutely love it and really feel it gives them a clear idea of what we do. We have a few people who have a very violently negative reaction to it as well, and find it too complicated, it works too slow. But we look at we dig down into that feedback and try to understand why they think it's not right. And we're coming up now with solutions on how to improve the wheel and improve the way it works. And that's been a really great exercise to constantly build that cycle of feedback from customers and improve the way we communicate.
Yeah, I think whether they love you or hate you, it's nice when people are passionate about what you're doing.
Exactly. I'd rather have a divisive audience of people who love and hate than a neutral audience of people who really don't care.
Right. Who can't remember your name. So tell me a little bit about you guys more than anyone, and I know a lot of people who do integrations, with my involvement with the Small Business Web, but you guys more than anyone, that's really what you do, is that connection point. So those relationships you have with the other software companies that you're integrating with or that are integrating into your system, those are really important relationships. What do you do to work with besides CEO chats to build those relationships?
Yeah, well, we've evolved over time. When the business first started, we were just looking for open APIs to applications that were popular and building an integration to try to get a critical mass and a proof of concept. But as we grew, we realized that there was two really critical elements in the recipe of building an integration that were essential, and we always must have those elements in place now in order to do any new integrations. And we've even gone back to our old integrations to build those elements. So the first one is a technical relationship. So we know now that we must have a direct technical relationship with the vendors we integrate. We can't just have an open API because there's all these things that are not documented well. There always are things that change or break because of an update on the other side. And we want to provide a fantastic quality of service to our customers and your customers. So if we don't have that direct relationship like we have with you guys, where when something changes or breaks, we know we can contact somebody and we know we can get somebody giving it genuine attention right away to fix it for our mutual customers, then we know that we're at risk. So that's the first part, is we want to have that relationship. And it's also important to have that technical relationship so we know when you're making major changes. You guys reached out to us when you were building your version 2 of your product and allowed us to build an integration and be live on your new product when you launch. And that was really important for your customers and ours to make sure that we were up to speed with where you're at. And the other side is a commercial relationship. We have to believe in each other's businesses and believe in the service we're offering to our customers, to each other's customers. If we don't have that mutually supportive relationship, then we're going to build something that people are going to look at and go, meh, interesting, but I don't really see a lot of passion here. So, these kind of chats like we're having now and the shared blog posts and features that we've done over the past week and that ongoing relationship is really important so that customers see we've made business decisions to support each other and we believe in each other's service. And that's critical to driving mutual success for our customers and for our businesses.
Yeah, that's true. Do you find it challenging, the sort of world we live in, you very rarely meet in person the people that are probably your strongest contacts and relationships for your business. It's sort of, I appreciate that, but I found it really challenging too, because I'm definitely a one-on-one person, and even going to some of the big conferences, and yeah, you can meet 50 people in a room, but I actually don't like meeting 50 people in a room. I like having a one-on-one Skype chat more than that. Do you find that challenging?
It's interesting. It's a question that we get quite frequently, not from vendors that we partner with or customers, but more often from people in the industry, sometimes from investors, is when are we going to relocate from Australia to San Francisco or to the US in order to be closer to our customers? And
people think Rhode Island is just as far away from San Francisco as Australia.
Yeah.
You get the same thing.
And reality is, I cannot name a single relationship we have with a vendor, with a customer, with a client, with anybody that I think would be improved by being based somewhere else than Sydney. My day overlaps, 3/4 of my day overlaps with the day in the west coast of the United States. Another part of my day overlaps with the UK. I'm on these kind of discussions on Skype every single day. I have great relationships with people I've never met face to face. You and I have the fortune of having met face to face a year ago, but I don't think that made or broke our relationship in terms of what we do together as businesses. So I think people are starting to accept in the new world order with the level of connectivity we have that you don't have to get face to face physically, because you can be face to face virtually and build great relationships.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Do we have any, Christelle? Do we have any questions, or are we?
I do. I have a question. How is it that you gather feedback on your site changes, such as when you were talking about people weighing in about the wheel, how some love it, some hate it? Is that like emails people send you, or how do you learn that information?
Sure. Well, firstly, we have a lot of very passionately engaged customers who really love us and like to proactively volunteer their feedback. So uninvited, we get feedback, but it's uninvited but very welcome, and we take that feedback seriously. We also use a product called Zopen, which is an online chat tool that allows you to directly monitor what people are doing on your website, watch them as they go through the website, interact with them through live chat, and our support team proactively engages people while they're on our website to help them finish what they're trying to do. But in the process of doing that, they learn what questions those people are trying to answer and how they might be finding difficulty answering them going through our website. They learn that they specifically look to gather feedback and find ways to improve that. We also have a full-time user experience designer now on our team, whose job is nothing other than constantly looking at and trying to improve the way that we teach people about our product and help people move through to understanding how to use our product in their business and start using our product on a regular basis.
Do you do any direct user testing? Like, we've just started using a new service where you get a videotape of people walking through your app trying to perform certain functions.
We did not do any direct user testing. It's definitely something worth doing. It's something that we will start doing. We also have used some heat mapping programs just to get heat maps of the way people use the website. We use analytics. We're starting to evolve to use things like potentially Kissmetrics and things like that. So there's a variety of tools to get that feedback, and it really comes down to a balancing point between the intelligence you gather from doing that, the feedback you gather, and the speed at which you need to keep moving your business and evolving. And we've made the choice to evolve and gather feedback in real time from what's actually live instead of gathering feedback from a beta site or a test site. And that was to allow us to move faster.
Yeah, it's been really eye-opening for us doing the user testing, and it's on our live site. We basically just give, you can decide how many, but give a group of users 3 or 4 or 5 sort of simple tasks, and then you just watch a video recording of them trying to figure out how and why. And we anticipated where the challenges would be, and there were a number of challenges much further upstream than we thought there would be. So it's really interesting to watch.
And you highlight probably the most important thing about user experience design is we're all very close to our products and we understand our products, and our intuition and assumptions about how to communicate our products and where the pain points are usually wrong.
Yeah.
And it's so important to be getting that direct user feedback from people who haven't experienced the product, are experiencing it for the very first time. And it's really those first-time users that give you the most insight, because they're the ones who aren't sure what they're coming to see. You need to immediately give them a very simple idea of what you offer and help them understand how it complements their business and adds value to their business.
Yeah, exactly. And I found it particularly, it almost adds another level of complexity when you've gone through a redesign, because you're getting feedback from people who have a preconceived notion of what your site looked like.
Yes.
So they're judging the new site based on that. And then you've also got, the brand new, the virgin audience. So you have to really try and take into consideration where people are coming at this from, what that sort of preconceived notion is going to be. So.
And they don't only have preconceived notions about your website. They also have preconceived notions about your product and what your product does.
Yeah.
And sometimes they move forward based on assumptions without ever clarifying whether their assumptions are correct. And that's an important thing in terms of the level of communication and the depth of communication on the website, to help make sure that people understand what you do, but also what you don't do. Because you don't want dissatisfied customers who think by intuition that your service does something that it actually doesn't do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's, and we've also run into people who learn something new that our product does. Absolutely. Just because they've sort of gotten a new experience with the communications materials we're putting out. And, they went back and watched some videos and they're like, wow, who knew we could do this? So anyway.
I've got a question for both of you, actually.
Okay.
Why should small businesses care about integrated software?
Great question. We're now regularly talking to our customers to gather case studies about how our service is helping them. And our customers are small businesses. We had a chat with a customer yesterday who has done his own number crunching and estimates that the time that he saves by OneSaas has enabled him to grow his business threefold, saves him $5,000 a month in terms of staff he would have had to have on to manage manual processes, and he would not see his business grow the way it's grown without having our service automating a lot of tasks that used to be manually done by him and by his staff.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, I think one of the, sort of the most precious commodity that a small business has is time, and so that time savings is huge, and especially as a small business grows and they're adding new people, when you talk about collecting data, whether it's, updating contact information or, sharing with the team who you're communicating with, what you're saying to them, you've got to get that to so many different places as your team grows. And so, not only is it a time saving for all of you, to just be able to access the data essentially in one place. That's what syncing up this data across systems does. It basically says, all right, this data, whichever endpoint you're touching, it's the same data as all the other endpoints, and so you're essentially all feeding the same big pot of data, and so so that time savings and the accuracy of the information. I mean, small businesses, every relationship counts, every invoice counts, every dollar counts. That's important stuff. Making sure you don't lose any of those pieces is mission critical, especially in that stage of a business.
Yeah, and accuracy of data is one step. It's also the depth of the data. We hear from a lot of customers that before they used our service, if they had if they were using Batchbook and they had an opportunity that was converting into a customer and a sale, they would just enter the most basic information in their accounting system just to make sure their accountant had some data to be able to close their accounts each month. Now that they have OneSaas connecting those things, they have a much deeper level of financial data and deeper level of data about their customers in accounting, but also information about how those customers are paying their bills coming back the other way. and they're actually getting greater insights into their business, into how to manage their business, how to improve their cash flow and their accounts receivable, how to improve their customer relationships, because the data is richer with less effort.
Yeah.
I've got one more question. Have you seen any really interesting or unusual uses of OneSaas, like something really notable?
We have a couple of, all of our clients are favorite clients, but we have a couple of favorite clients that really take what the intention of our product is to the nth degree. One example is we have a gentleman who is managing 32 eBay stores, separate eBay stores, 2 Magento stores, his account's in Xero, and a fulfillment warehouse as well, all integrated in a single business file in OneSaas. So that's 36 services integrated in a single file. There's no other service out there that can do that. And while we didn't specifically test that use case scenario, we always built specifically with that point of difference of being able to connect as many services as you use to run your business in a single account and have all that seamlessly done. And so that's, that's really cool. And we really like that somebody has done that and that it works flawlessly.
Yeah.
Nice, that's really cool. Yeah. All right, well, we're actually out of time, so thank you both for participating, and thank you for joining us, Jeff, and getting up extra early to hang out with us.
No worries.
Thank you very much, Jeff. It was great.
Thanks, Pamela. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too. It was great chatting, and hopefully I'll see you sometime soon.
Sometime soon, early next year.
Yes.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.